Clint Eastwood, one of the most enduring figures in Hollywood, turned 95 with a revelation that stunned even those who thought they knew him best. With a quiet, almost haunted voice, he admitted she was the only one who could do that to me. For a man defined by stoicism and strength, both on and off screen, those words peeled back the myth to reveal the vulnerable heart of a legend. To understand the weight of that confession, one must journey through the extraordinary life of Clint Eastwood Jr., a man whose story is as layered and complex as the films he created. Born on May 31, 1930, in San Francisco, Eastwood entered the world during the Great Depression, a time when money was scarce and survival meant resilience. His father, a steelworker and migrant laborer, frequently moved the family around California in search of work. These early years instilled in Clint a work ethic, humility, and independence that would later define both his persona on screen and his conduct in real life. Tall, lean, and naturally reserved, he developed the traits of a man who spoke little but carried a quiet authority, qualities that would someday become central to his film career. Eastwood's first big break came in the late 1950s when he was cast as Rowdy Yates in the television series Rawhide. Running from 1959 to 1965, the show turned him into a household name and gave him a taste of stardom. But it wasn't until the mid-1960s, in collaboration with Italian director Sergio Leone, that Eastwood's career took flight on a global scale. Starring in the so-called Dollars trilogy, A Fistful of Dollars 1964, For a Few Dollars More 1965, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly 1966, he introduced audiences to the man with no name, a laconic, morally ambiguous anti-hero who redefined the Western genre. These spaghetti westerns were gritty, violent, and realistic, a sharp contrast to the clean-cut cowboys of earlier decades. Eastwood's portrayal gave birth to a new kind of cinematic hero, one who didn't need words to dominate a scene. The 1970s brought another defining role with the debut of Dirty Harry, 1971. As Harry Callahan, the hard-edged San Francisco cop who delivered justice on his own terms, Eastwood once again captured the cultural mood. In a time of rising crime rates and growing mistrust of authority, Callahan became an icon, embodying both the frustrations and fantasies of a generation. The role spawned multiple sequels and solidified Eastwood as one of the era's ultimate action stars. But Eastwood was not content to remain just a face on the screen. Beginning with Play Misty for Me in 1971, he transitioned into directing, honing a reputation as a filmmaker of remarkable range and vision. His work behind the camera earned him equal, if not greater, respect than his acting. Films like Unforgiven 1992, Mystic River 2003, $1 Million Baby 2004, and American Sniper 2014 demonstrated his ability to explore the human condition with depth, subtlety, and nuance. Unforgiven, in particular, was a career-defining achievement, winning the Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director while deconstructing the myths of the Old West he had once helped to build. In his hands, cinema became both a mirror and a moral compass capable of asking difficult questions about violence, redemption, and humanity. Despite his towering achievements in film, Eastwood's off-screen life was no less dramatic. Known as a modern-day Casanova, he developed a reputation for being irresistibly charismatic yet elusive in love. Over the decades, he was linked to numerous women actresses, models, journalists, and even stunt women. Among them were names like Anita Lust, Mamie Van Doren, Roxanne Tunis, Gail Green, and French star Catherine Deneuve. But none of these encounters fascinated the public more than his turbulent romance with actress Sandra Locke. Eastwood's first marriage came early. In 1953, when he wed Maggie Johnson, a young model he had met on a blind date. Their union produced a child, Kyle, born in 1968, who grew into a respected jazz musician, and Allison, born in 1972, who pursued acting and directing. But Eastwood's numerous affairs put great strain on the marriage. By 1984, after 3 decades together, The couple divorced in what was one of the most expensive celebrity settlements of the time. Meanwhile, his relationship with dancer Roxanne Tunis, conducted in secret during the marriage, had already produced a daughter, Kimber, in 1964, whose parentage remained hidden for many years. But in 1975, Clint Eastwood's life shifted when he met Sandra Locke on the set of The Outlaw Josie Wales. What began as a professional collaboration quickly grew into a passionate, all-consuming romance. Together they appeared in films like The Gauntlet, Every Which Way But Loose, and Sudden Impact. For over 13 years, Locke wasn't just Eastwood's partner, she was his muse, his equal, and in many ways, his mirror. Unlike many women before her, she refused to live in his shadow. Sharp, intelligent, and uncompromising, she challenged him both artistically and emotionally. Around her, Eastwood was no longer the untouchable gunslinger. He was vulnerable, uncertain, even tender, but the love that burned so brightly between them also brought pain. Their relationship was marred by secrecy, infidelity, and betrayal. During their time together, Eastwood reportedly fathered children with other women, including flight attendant Jocelyn Reeves, with whom he had two children, Scott and Catherine. The eventual breakup with Locke in 1989 was bitter, culminating in lawsuits and accusations of professional sabotage. Locke claimed Eastwood had deceived and undermined her career, while Eastwood remained silent on much of the conflict. Yet, for all the turmoil, there was no denying that Locke had left a mark on him that time could not erase. After Locke, Eastwood continued to navigate complex relationships. He shared a daughter, Francesca, with actress Frances Fisher in 1993. He later married television news anchor Dina Ruiz in 1996, and together they had a daughter, Morgan. But that marriage, too, ended in divorce by 2014. In total, Clint Eastwood fathered at least 8 children with 6 different women, though speculation has long suggested the true number may be higher. Despite the tangled web of relationships, Eastwood remained close to many of his children, several of whom have followed him into entertainment. Yet when Eastwood looked back at his life and his later years, it wasn't the awards, the accolades, or even the countless romances that lingered most deeply in his mind. It was Sandra Locke. In interviews and private conversations, he admitted that her departure had left him broken in a way no other woman ever had. "I couldn't walk after," he once confessed, clarifying that it wasn't a physical injury but an emotional collapse. For a man who had endured war, Hollywood politics, critical backlash, and the brutal churn of fame, it was staggering to realize that the one thing capable of undoing him was love. Locke, with her intelligence, her fiery independence, and her refusal to be overshadowed, had penetrated the armor of Clint Eastwood. She made him feel uncertain. She made him question himself. She could silence him with a look, disarm him with a laugh, and remind him that beneath the myth of Clint Eastwood was simply a man capable of being undone. That was what he meant when he whispered, "She was the only one who could do that to me." Today, at 95, Eastwood remains a towering figure in American culture, an actor, director, and icon whose work spans generations. But behind the legend lies a truth that makes him human. The greatest scar he carried was not from bullets or Hollywood battles, but from the loss of the one woman who truly held his heart. And even as he sits surrounded by his trophies, scripts, and memories, the ghost of Sandra Locke lingers etched into his soul, like a hidden photograph kept close, worn and frayed, but never discarded.